Yeah. Okay. All right. So my question this week is about what it's like to be the parent of a senior in high school and to miss those milestone events. And so I'm talking with Taryn and with Dawn, and they're going to talk about their kids and what's going on with them. So Taryn, do you want to start? Tell us about Noah.
Oh, Noah, what is there to say? So Noah will be going to Mass Maritime Academy next year, which is just right as you get onto the Cape in Morin, Mass. So he has become the most active in his school this year than he ever has been before. He's in the Leos Club, the vice president. He's co-president of National Honor Society. Does a lot with Relay for Life and just a lot. Anything his teachers ask him to do, he'll do. So it's been interesting that just as he was kind of hitting his peak and really getting super involved, was on the soccer team and all these great things, and it just came to a very abrupt ending.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and Dawn?
Well, Caleb is a senior at the academy, and he's an Eagle Scout, and we're so grateful he finished his project when he did. It would have been a lot harder right now. And he also works quite a few hours a week at Mackey's in Woodstock. So, you know, he wasn't involved in as many like clubs and organizations at school, but he does miss like seeing his friends, hanging out with his friends. I mean, they would just, you know, call each other up, oh, let's go fishing, or, you know, come over to my house and we'll just hang out. And, you know, he really does miss that kind of stuff. He's planning on going to QV in the fall, and he decided that on his own. He wanted to do the 2 years there and graduate there with no debt and then transfer to Eastern. He's going to be studying computer science. He's going to probably go for the cybersecurity certificate from QV, because he has an interest in possibly working for the state police in like cybersecurity division. But they've already told him that the fall is going to be an online semester. So he's not going to meet in person with any of his classmates or teachers at this point.
It's such a different experience for these kids. I mean, it really, you know, I can't even imagine what it's like for them. What is it like for you as parents to see them do the online schooling? What's that like?
Well, since this started, right away the academy was able to let the kids start with online classes, and it had a couple of hiccups just like working things out, but I have to say they streamlined it pretty fast. And at least for my two kids, their teachers that they've had this semester, they really got with the program, had a good idea about how to present their classes and things like that. Especially some subjects, you know, it's harder to do, like chemistry or something like that, you know, without hands-on, but people figure it out. It's actually amazing. I love that they can do the online classes and at least see each other's faces, but I know that it's heartbreaking for some of them. One of Mary's classes has a mix of grades in it, and there's a couple of seniors in that class, and one of them in particular, I've heard her more than once mention how sad she is that she's not in class with them. And even today, the teacher asked the three seniors, you know, how do you feel about this is the end of your school year? How are you feeling? And that girl kept saying, I'm just very sad. I'm very sad.
Yeah, it is, because it's something you never get back.
Yeah. I mean, I think about all the things they normally do at the end of the year, and they can't even do like their class prank or their senior skip day. Like, you know, just goofy things like that. They matter.
They do.
I think that's what I mourn the most, because I work in a high school, so I live that excitement every time this year. The teachers, this is about the time of the year where we're ready for them to be on their way, but it's such an exciting time for them. And they're walking around, you know, King of the Mountain. Graduation is right around the corner. There's excitement in the air. They have their class trips coming up, their prom, their senior prank, all of this stuff. And it's really more just the atmosphere and that whole culture of excitement. And that's what I think I'm the most sad about them missing. Not even as much the graduation as just missing out on these wonderful days where there's just nothing but excitement in the air in anticipation of graduation and the summer and college or whatever the plans may be. So that's been hard. But going back to the remote, to your original question, I've been very impressed with Putnam. They had a plan. They had a plan quickly, and the kids were almost immediately onto the remote learning. Noah's done a great job with it. My other son, who's 2 years younger, has struggled a little bit more. He doesn't quite have all of those skills that I think make you successful. Noah has done a great job. So I guess the bright side to that is we haven't heard what Mass Maritime's plans are, but if it is remote learning, well, they've had a few months of practice. So I guess they've had a chance to develop some of those skills to maybe not succeed and figure out, okay, how do I turn this around? How do I get the help? How do I make up the work? So I guess there's that.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought about that. That if they are doing remote learning in the fall, they're certainly more prepared than they would have been otherwise.
Yes, because I was sitting in on a webinar when we were talking about all the effects of COVID-19, and one of the speakers said, and it really resonated with me, we're asking these kids to do something that we haven't prepared them to do and that they don't necessarily have the skills to do, but this is now the instant expectation. So it's not easy.
Yeah, no, I think that's really true. And for everyone, we're all thrown into this quickly, right? I mean, the schools that's not how they were teaching, and suddenly they had to teach that way, and that's not how the kids were learning, and then they had to learn that way. And yeah, it's a big change for everyone. So what about you? So as parents, like, I mean, you've been working towards this moment, right? I mean, this is why this is what we do. We work hard so that our kids will get to their goal and like all those. So what's that like for you? Because very different than what you imagined.
It definitely is. But in essence, it's like almost everything in parenting where you have this expectation of what you're going to get or what should happen, and then it either does or it doesn't, and you have to deal with it. And it's very much a roller coaster for me. Most of the time I'm like, okay, I'm fine with it, and I get that that's how it has to be, and this is the right thing for them to do, and they are going to miss these things. But then there's other times where it just hits me, oh man, this milestone event is not going to be something they can have. Or even, and in a lot of schools are doing this, I ordered a sign with his picture on it, custom made, that said, graduation and congratulations. And I went to go pick it up, and the place just puts them out front, and you go and you just grab yours. And I pulled into the parking spot and I saw his, and I just started crying, and I didn't think that was going to make me cry, but it did. Just because, one, I'm proud of him, but two, I would have loved to have had him have the traditional actual graduation as opposed to a sign. But
stop it, Dawn.
I know, I'm sorry. I'm so emotional. But I do have to say the Academy's done a good job. They sent out a plan. I mean, they've only given us like the outline to it, but they're planning on a graduation parade, and they are somehow coordinating having all of us, each kid gets one car, and they're going to coordinate having us lined up in a certain order, and they're going to give us that information. But when it's your turn and you drive up front, you hop out, you get your pictures taken in front of the sign. The student goes and stands at some point, gets their picture taken with administrators who are 6 feet away. And then you get back in your car and you drive home. And I see the humor in that. I'm like, it is what it is. And it is at least what we can have, but I just see the humor in like the whole, like, get your picture taken, hop in the car, drive away. But I'm glad they're at least having some sort of ceremony or acknowledgement. I know other people who live in other states where their schools are deciding, well, we're going to hold off and try and do one in July, but that still may never happen, and that lack of closure, I think, is probably, weighing on the kids. And when I was talking to my niece who lives out in Michigan, she was saying, by July, I'm not going to want to go to a graduation. I'm done. I'm checked out, So.
Yeah.
I don't know what the plan is in Putnam yet for graduation. I know that there's a lot of talk, but I'm not sure that they've come up with a plan yet for that, or at least not one that they've shared yet. I'm trying to follow Noah's lead, and I'm trying to not be upset if he's not upset. He's not terribly upset over missing graduation. He's not a huge one for crowds and for being on display. I don't think Caleb is either.
No, he's not.
So he doesn't really, or at least he says he's not really that upset over not having the graduation. So if he's not upset, I'm holding it together. If he loses it, I'm going to lose it. So I think Noah's just more sad about missing out on some of those things that we were talking about earlier that happen around this time of year, and just missing seeing his friends, having those times together before they all go off in different directions. So, but I agree, Dawn. I mean, things rarely go according to plan when you're a parent. So this is just another lesson that we've got to go with it.
Yeah. And I also too, because I worked with so many of the kids in his class through their elementary and middle school years, I'm sad for a lot of them, because I know, again, Caleb's like Noah, where he's actually super happy he doesn't have to walk across a stage and have 1,000 people clapping. Like, that's his dream graduation. Right. But the other kids that I know in his class who really were like holding that up as something they wanted to achieve, I really feel for them, and it makes me sad that they're not going to get that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even the prom too, that's another huge one. I can't even count how many girls I know had already gone out and bought their dresses in February over the February vacation. And, you know, one of them about 2-3 weeks ago, she had posted on her Instagram, well, I guess I'm just going to do a photo shoot in my prom gown since I'm not going to get to wear it, you know. So it's making the best of the situation, but also it was a bittersweet feeling to it.
I think it's going to be more devastating if he cannot go away in August. I think that's when it's going to get real, and it's probably going to hit the fan a little bit, because I think he's just kind of putting all his hopes and thoughts and channeling his energies into the thought of going away.
Right.
So that's going to be tough. If that's, I say if, I mean, it probably is. It's probably just a matter of time, but we'll see.
I think that's part of the hard part, right? Is that there's so much we still don't know. You know, it seems to keep moving on and on and on. And at least QV has already made that announcement, right? That's what you said. That.
Yeah, we talked to a counselor the other day for his classes, and she already said it's going to be online.
So what about in your families? I mean, you can't even have like a big family gathering. So how will you celebrate? How will you mark their graduations, do you think?
I think, and we're going to do some sort of online quote unquote party, just with like the grandparents initially. And hopefully at one point be able to have an actual family celebration, because we've got a lot of family and we usually have, you know, bigger parties. But my dad, he was planning on coming up from Florida. They had already bought plane tickets and everything. And actually the day before, I went to the post office and mailed him some cookies that I had planned on making when he came up, because he really likes them, because I don't know when he's going to get to have them. And I know my dad's super disappointed. He had wanted to actually see him graduate. And, you know, my mom, she lives in the bottom part of the state. For Mother's Day, we went down to her house and we sat outside her window and had a meal with her. Like, we brought our food and she was inside with her food. So we might do the same sort of thing, bring Caleb down and do that, you know, just to be able to be in person. Because it's great to have these electronic things, but there's nothing like seeing somebody in person. The only thing that stinks is you can't actually hug them.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What about your family, Taryn?
Well, we haven't really made any plans yet, because we aren't quite sure if there's going to be a ceremony of sorts similar to what Dawn was saying, but I suspect my nephew is also graduating. Jaden is the same age as Noah. So I suspect that we might, just the two immediate families, go over to my mother's, who has a nice big yard on the lake, and socially distance and kind of sort of celebrate. And then I'm really hopeful that later on in the summer maybe at the end of the summer, maybe things will be a little better and we can have a bigger party to include some friends and extended family who wanted to be there.
Yeah. Wow. All right. So are there other things that you're, reflecting on? It's such an emotional time anyway. Graduation, I mean, as a parent. And so, all these added things just add,
Okay.
are kind of piled onto it. So,
I'm sorry, I'm being distracted by Noah. He's trying to tell me something and I'm trying to
he should.
say,
You can pop in.
hang on, time out. Oh,
Well, I
back
know
in.
that one thing, like I do feel badly that Caleb isn't going to have like those last day times where he can say goodbye to teachers that meant a lot to him. There's quite a few teachers that he's had who made a huge difference in his success as a student and how far he's come. But he's not going to get to personally say anything to them. And even just, being able to walk on campus and know it's your last time. He didn't know it was his last time when it was his last time. And I mean, technically he went back once to give blood. So that was his last time, but it's still not the same as your last day of senior year where everybody's like, hello. Like I remember my last day of senior year. I remember we got in my friend's convertible and I went to Catholic school. We were ripping our uniforms and throwing pieces out the window. I shouldn't say that I littered, but I did. Because we were like, yay, we're never wearing these polyester skirts again, and it was, we were just jubilant, and they won't have that collectively. That's sad.
Yep, that's what I was referring to earlier, and that's the part that just makes me the saddest. But yeah. I don't know. At some point, the emotion of it all will catch up with me. Right now, I'm just kind of trying to be zen about it and roll with the punches and know that it's bigger than us. It's not just us. It's 8th grade graduation. It's people that have worked hard and put themselves through college. I mean, my Noah's principal, her son just graduated from the Coast Guard Academy, and they just said, nothing. We're not doing a graduation. He got his diploma in the mail. And that was just the end of it. So it's hard all the way around. So I'm just trying not to get too caught up into the self-pity of it.
Yeah. No, you're right. Because everyone has a story, right? I mean, everyone has a story of how plans have been changed and, things that none of us saw this coming. And there are, thousands and millions of people whose celebrations and other plans have been changed or postponed or not acknowledged. That's kind of very bittersweet to get the diploma in the mail. It's like, well,
she said it's like in a box in her garage because she can't even wrap her head around how unceremoniously it was just over after all of that.
That time. Yeah.
I do say when I think about stuff like that, though, I feel like not just the seniors themselves, but even the kids who are grades younger than them who are watching what's happening. I'm hoping that this will make them value certain things more, like the ability to be with other people, the idea of acknowledging people and thanking people and being appreciative of things, because when they're not able to have it the way they are now, maybe they'll realize how important those things are, even though they don't seem important, when you're a teenager or, when you're just thinking about it in general. But when you realize you can't have it, you kind of think, this did have more meaning than I thought.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It is. Well, okay. Any other thoughts? Any last words of wisdom or reminiscences?
I just say to the other parents there, hang in there. This is a weird time, and of course, nobody wishes that their kid has to be the ones that miss out. But I really honestly feel like this generation is going to be better for it because they will be more cognizant of, the effect they have in the world and what other people truly mean, in their lives.
I don't think I mentioned this before, but Noah is majoring in emergency management when he gets to Mass Maritime. So I said to him, well, I hope you're not sick of hearing about this pandemic, because every single class, every single example, I mean, this is it. All of his people are hard at work trying to figure out
Yeah.
how to run as a society and contain this thing and keep things going. So it's interesting, but congrats to the class of 2020.
Absolutely.
And I don't think that they're going to let this little thing called the pandemic get them down. And you know what? There's always college graduation.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hopefully.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations to both of you as parents of seniors, and congratulations to Noah and to Caleb and the whole class of 2020. Yeah, we're wishing them all of the best. And I think you're right. I think they will come out of this stronger. And certainly they will be that class in history. They will have stories to tell. They'll be interviewed for years and years to come.
Yeah.
And I just have to add, I didn't go to my high school graduation because I was traveling. I was in Europe at the time, and I think I turned out okay. So it's okay. It's all right.
You turned out fabulous, Taryn.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Stay
Sue.
healthy.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
See you.